Welcome to the award-winning Authors Show, where we help professionals to build a legacy by self-publishing your next book. We help you remove self-doubt from your mind with our proven process to become a published author. We have helped authors from all over the world to publish their books for the last 18 years. I'm your host, Lisa Umina, CEO of Halo Publishing International. If you're ready to become an award-winning author, then let's get started. Hi, my name is Lisa Umina. I am the CEO of Halo Publishing International. I'm also an award-winning children's author. I get super excited, obviously, publishing children's books through our publishing house. And I have with us today Lloyd Jr., author of The Adventures of Monkey and Toad. And today we are going to just have a real nice, intimate conversation. One of the things I think Donald will be very helpful to all of our listeners, especially upcoming authors or current authors, is the very question I'm going to lead with our interview today. And that is, Donald, how has your life changed after you published your first book?
It's definitely taken a turn that I wasn't expecting, to say the least. I've always enjoyed art and writing pretty much my entire life, at least as far back as I can remember. And the fact that now I get to do that as my daily job is fantastic. For so long I was always working for somebody else, and now to kind of working for myself and helping bring some of my other talents that I haven't used in so long to help other people now is fantastic.
Donald, you're so humbled. I can't believe that. That's all you're going to say. So not only have you published your first children's book, you also illustrated your first children's book. And
Correct.
Through that, what has happened through showing the world that you're not only an author, a best-selling author, we'll get into that in a second, but what else has happened with this illustration talent that you have?
Well, as you know, a friend of mine reached out to you as well with a book idea of his and wanted to get that brought into the world, and found out that I had illustrated mine. So he asked if I wouldn't mind doing his. And I find out, now that he's got a whole series of them planned, so I'll be helping him with that. As well as working on my own series and trying to keep that rolling. But I've also illustrated one other book for someone, which is supposed to be coming out here soon. And I've also got two more people that have reached out to me in the last week that want me to do illustrations.
No, the other flip side of that is that obviously you can wear many hats, but now you got to pick the hats you want to wear.
I got to manage my time a little better, yeah.
Exactly, because I also know you have another book that you wrote, and now you have to make time to even illustrate your own book. And hence why I had to hang up my hat as an author, because I couldn't travel the world and be a publisher and be a coach to so many if I'm on the road. So you now know what I struggled with to balance it all out. And I know you'll make the right decisions, and I love seeing obviously someone else's story come to life through your beautiful ability to illustrate children's books. And again, that's the beautiful thing about this path. We don't know the doors that will open up. Speaking of doors opening up, Donald, talk to us about, come on, I went to Amazon today, I looked under children's values, and you're ranking out of 1 million and some books, almost 2 million books, 3,000 and something, right? And so that being said, talk to us about some of these secrets. If you can give our audience like 3 ways out of the many ways, I know you have a lot, that they can go out and market their book. What do you think were the 3 key elements that helped you to really launch and get the book out there, the message out there, and sell these books? Because you're now our best-selling author for the 3rd month in a row.
I'd say probably the biggest secret, and yeah, it's no secret to you that I'm sure, I reached out to a lot of other authors and talked to them about how they actually were marketing their stuff or the steps that they took to really help promote their book. Because, the key to this whole thing is really believing in what you're putting out into the world, and the fact that you cherish it as a piece of yourself and really want to get it out to as many folks as you can. There's such a great community of authors out there that realize that it's not about the me, it's about the we. And the fact that they want to get as many of these positive things into the hands of our children as they can.
Okay.
And there's so many great lessons to be learned from that. Just the fact that we're all working together and that, not any one of us is more concerned about getting our stuff higher than the next person. It's about just really trying to promote the positive in life because there's so much negative nowadays. And I think that was probably my biggest thing, was being comfortable enough, or I know you said humble before, but being willing to step out of my own way and really just kind of reach out to others and ask for help.
Great. Some of the venues that you had, I know you talk about Marsha. Talk
Mhm.
to us about that program. I feel that's where I saw the books with the sales increase a lot. Talk to us. What's the name of her show? How does that all work? How did you get in front of Marsha?
Well, believe it or not, when I said I reached out to other authors, another author directed me to her show, and I reached out to Marsha, and she basically responded immediately. Her next coming show, she had a spot for a new author. So she asked if I would be willing to do it. And the fact that the guests she had on there were diverse enough that it really was just a great hour-long conversation about things that have worked, things that didn't work, and hearing the fact that all these other folks who have done so much. I mean, there was a gentleman on there that has written and published more than 100 children's books. And just the ability of them to share with me everything that they went through just to get to the points that they were at was more than just I could have ever asked for from an interview that, I frankly just kind of fell into my lap.
Perfect. It sounds like networking is a very key element, and I also believe that as an author, was the partnerships. It's how do I help someone else in need? Like I like how you said you got you out of the way. When we take that, especially exactly how you say it, and package that, and we don't look at this as a self-serving calling, because it is
Yep.
a calling. It's important, and I mimic, and there's so many things that you're saying that I also did as an author, was just getting out there, campaigning, believing in my own message first before I try to show it to a younger audience. And so it could be as big as you want it to be too, and that's what's so crazy and fun at the same time. So you went on the Marsha show, and then what's the name of her show? Do you recall that?
I should, because I'm
Stories
trying
for
to honestly,
Children or something, like I try to remember that too. It's
yeah,
okay, we can come back to that, but talk to me too, because this is what I love about it. I said you kept in touch with me about everything. You also submitted your children's book to a book blogger, and again, probably that's why sales went up again too. So how did you find book bloggers? Did you just Google that?
really, it sounds strange coming from me because I've never been a social media guy for as long as I can remember.
Okay.
But Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that stuff are wonderful tools if you use them as tools and don't get lost in them. It's really reaching out to all these different folks. Going on, believe it or not, the easiest thing was I did a Google search for online book review bloggers, and specifically children's book bloggers, and reached out to probably easily 200 of them.
Wow.
And just asked, if they were taking on reviews or new books to review, if they would be willing to do it. And a lot of them, believe it or not, are so jam-packed with them that you kind of, out of 200, you're lucky to get maybe a dozen.
Okay. So
And it's just willing to keep at that every single day. And, understanding that they're doing you a service is huge, because being very thankful and really just letting them know how appreciative you are for that they're taking their time, because that really does help. And, you never know, one day they may have 1,000 people that follow them, a week later they may have 10,
Exactly.
you know,
And again,
and
going back to building those relationships. The other thing I'm hearing, we got to really talk about this. This isn't a hobby for you. And
now,
so I definitely can tell, just even having this conversation with you, because we've always emailed each other all this. But more importantly, this is so important. And I have a saying on my wall, it says part-time work equals part-time results. So I definitely know, I can hear it. It doesn't sound like it's a full-time job, but if you had to tell our audience, upcoming authors or authors that are currently looking to do new things to market and get their message out there, about how much time do you spend, if you want to tell them maybe per day or throughout the week, how much time do you spend in your career as an author?
honestly, it's like a full-time job.
Okay, wait, let me make a note of that.
It really is, because I'm spending probably at least an hour to 2 hours a day on social media, just making sure that I'm, because I belong to different groups, illustrator groups, new author groups, things like that,
Ooh,
to
join
where,
groups. Love that.
yeah, to
Great.
where we're interacting with each other.
Okay.
I belong to a group on Instagram that are a bunch of different authors, and a lot of them, there are a few of us that are here in the US, but most everybody else is over in Britain, believe it or not.
Wow, interesting. You know how you reach out. And again, your book, we have to say this too, that when you publish at Halo, your book is available globally within 100 countries. Anyone that has access to the internet, right, can either download a paperback, hardcover, or ebook.
Yep.
So what I love about this is literally when you signed off on your electronic proof, you became in the next day a global author. I mean, anyone around the world has access to getting your message. What I think is amazing too is if I could tap into this.
Mm-hmm.
During a pandemic, let's remind everyone this. During a pandemic, Donald is a best-selling author. That means people are going to the internet, they're buying more, they're afraid to go to the stores, let's be honest, wearing a mask, trying to not catch this virus or spread it. And so what we're seeing is record numbers of book sales, absolutely. The other part is that we have authors writing more and more books. So when someone says, oh, what do I do during a pandemic? Here's the word, pivot. And I can clearly see you've done such an amazing job. I remember our first conversation, you and your wife sitting down, literally where you're sitting right now, and us, all anticipated to start this whole venture. And as you have clearly shown us today, you have made it an absolute adventure. And so that being said, what I want to do is just recap, if I can, some of the amazing things that you had said today, which are important. One, networking, partnerships, getting out there, talking to other authors, seeing what works, what didn't work, going out there and seeing on the internet who wants to hear your message, who's going to talk about it, who's going to give you those reviews, who's going to interview you. I also know that your son's school, did a Zoom?
Yes.
Google Classroom or Zoom? Zoom? So you did a Zoom.
Yep.
Yeah, you did a Zoom conference with the principal of the school. So I love that you give me this information, because I'm also sharing it as I'm trying to create this podcast today to go over all these important steps that you're taking as an author, because I haven't done it in a long time. But the third point, which I also like that you said, was, for getting involved in those groups. It's not a part-time job, but if someone had to make it a full-time job and they can, then let them do that, right? That's great. But you can't do this at a pace that you're comfortable with. But I definitely know that somehow, some way, you should be saying something in social media daily. You got to be out there. Otherwise, people forget you and your message. And you've worked so hard and you've come so far to not keep doing the work that you're doing. So what we're here to show our audience today is your proven track record. You're showing people that obviously you can do something that you had no idea that you can do until you just rolled up your sleeves and said, I'm in, And I love that. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart that you're also referring other authors to us and we're publishing their amazing stories. Okay, so that concludes our show today. I'm looking forward to interviewing more and more authors as they come out with their beautiful voice. And as you've seen today, Donald's so eager to get involved with his career. He's made it a full-time job. I'm very proud to be not only the CEO of Halo Publishing, but I'm also excited that we have such a beautiful family We've been serving authors all over the world for 18 years for a reason. We have authors like Donald that are just putting this amazing mark out in the world. So thank you again, Donald, for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're ready to publish your book, please submit your manuscript on halopublishing.com, or you can download our free publishing guide to learn everything you need to know about the entire self-publishing process. Start writing your legacy today.